You know something? I used to think that I liked puzzle games. I used to think that. But as I thought about it more, I can't remember the last puzzle game that I actually finished. This game reminds me of why. Welcome all fellow wannabes, welcome to the channel. I am Gabriel Fast. I do run Wannabe Critic Productions, which is the lovely YouTube channel that you are watching right now. Welcome once again. So today we're reviewing a game. I do want to say thank you so much to Radalika Games for sending me the review key to be able to check this out. It's one of those things, you know, obviously this isn't like reviewing like The Last of Us, you know, any AAA game whatsoever. That is totally fine. I am just so over the moon excited that someone trusted me enough to send me a review key or send me anything to review, you know, to give my thoughts on it. I will happily review anything that Radalika ever decides to send my way because it means the absolute world. So if you appreciate the content, if you appreciate the enthusiasm, what I'm trying to bring here, definitely consider subscribing. If you do subscribe, make sure you hit the bell. Make sure you leave a like on the video. You know, you're obviously on YouTube. You know how YouTube works. Help a YouTuber out. We would really appreciate it. Today, we are reviewing Ultra Hat Dimension. Now, as I said before, I made a joke, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. It's 2020. It's still okay to make a relatively safe joke, ladies and gentlemen, in 2020. So that's what I was making at the beginning, is this thing called a joke. I actually had a really fun time playing this game. It was a nice refresher to kind of, you know, force myself to get through this thing for review. And I'm not going to lie, it was kind of challenging to push myself through the puzzles at times, but I really did enjoy this puzzle game developed by, I had to check. It's developed by Kitsune Games. I think that's how you pronounce it. It was originally developed and published by Kitsune Games, and also Radalika was kind of involved in bringing it to more consoles, Switch, PS4, things like that. Radalika helps out a lot of smaller publishers and developers to port their games to consoles, so that's what I did. I got it on PS4, and I did pop that sweet platy. You know I already did. So without further ado, I've already taken up way too much time for this intro. Check out my review of Ultra Hat Dimension. Ultra Hat Dimension is a game developed by Kitsune Games, as well as published in part by Radalika Games. It's a pretty simple puzzle game in premise, but I definitely got more than what I bargained for in this game. Let's get into it. We find our character invited to the Hat Designer Winner's Ball, where she goes to a castle. She finds all these strange creatures that have all these different styles of hats on, as you would expect in some sort of fantastical puzzle game. And lo and behold, there's a bad guy that's going to be corrupting all these different creatures. So what we have to do is basically help our friends that we've just made get out of their corrupted state, and that's basically the overall general plot of Ultra Hat Dimension. The gameplay is pretty simple. You get the key in a room, and then you try and get out. It sounds pretty easy, right? To answer my own question, it is and it isn't. The fact of the matter is there's some puzzles that are, you know, straight up brain busters. As you would expect, the puzzles start out getting, you know, pretty easy, but as the game goes along, new things get added that make facets of the game a little bit more difficult. One thing that I really did enjoy about the game was the fact that they purposely put things on the map, on the stages, that make you go for them, and they're trying to mess you up. They're trying to get you to take the bait to where you gotta, you know, redo your move or restart the level to start from scratch, when in actuality, there's usually a pretty simple way to get from point A to point B once you figure it out. But I guess that's the beauty of puzzle games. Now, I'm no fool. I know that puzzle games are supposed to be hard in some ways. I know that puzzles are supposed to puzzle you. I do realize that, ladies and gentlemen. And there were definitely those times where you walk into a room and you just kind of know what you're supposed to do already. It reminds me of, you know, the Pokemon puzzles back in the day on like Pokemon Gold, whenever you'd have to move the boulders around and, you know, manipulate different ways of moving boulders. And if you moved boulders a certain way or moved a certain boulder too soon or didn't do it in the right order, then you kind of screwed yourself on the end result. And this game seems to draw inspiration from those old days. I mean, even the way the character looks and the way the environments look and the way the character moves games, it definitely is reminiscent of those old-timey times on the Game Boy Color, and in doing those puzzles, which isn't a bad thing. I think it's executed pretty well, and I think it very much is a glorified version of those older style puzzles. So if you have, a love for that, I think you might really like the overall gameplay of this game, because it very much pays homage to those older style puzzles. I do think the game is fun when it needs to be. I think it's challenging whenever it needs to be. I do think there are a handful of times where it's like, God, how do I figure this out? What is the solution to this puzzle? I didn't look up any guides. I don't think there is any guides for the solution to these puzzles. So, it would be one of those things I'd step away for a minute, take a drink of water, think about how to, or, approach the puzzle a different way, or even just thinking about ways about how can I approach the puzzle differently, which made for a pretty rewarding experience. I did enjoy my time with it. That being said, there were annoyances in some of the levels, and there was definitely an annoyance with one of the main core mechanics of the game. Just listen.
Pow, 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 pow.
Okay, that's enough of that. Yes, that is a main part of the game, is trying to traverse all of these different creatures and all these different hats. If they reject you, they punch you right in your stupid head because you can't figure out the puzzle, which is my biggest problem with the game. Whenever you're struggling with a puzzle and, you're trying to move around the map and figure out what you need to do, it does get pretty annoying whenever you keep getting punched in the head and you keep hearing pow, pow, pow over and over and over again. It got really irritating really fast. Overall, aside, from all my, the handful of frustrations that I had, the handful of annoyances I had with the game, I did enjoy my time with Ultra Hat Dimension, and I do recommend it if you want just something kind of different. If you want to just throw yourself into a somewhat challenging puzzle game, I definitely suggest you check out Ultra Hat Dimension. Now, if you're anything like me, as I said in my review, I do enjoy that old school, Pokemon mini game puzzle thing. You remember you'd slide on the ice and you had to go in a specific way, in a specific pattern, or you had to move the boulders around to try and get to your path. This is a glorified version of that. It's also, I don't know if I said this in my review, but it's also a glorified version of mix and match. Really just kind of using your head to try and think a few steps ahead of how the puzzle is, what ways the puzzle is trying to make you go. I think you're going to do well with this game. That being said, it does continue to get, quite a bit challenging with each world, so to speak, that you kind of go, or I think it's called floors. Whichever floor you go up, the higher floor you go up, lo and behold, things are going to get harder. But overall, it's a really fun time. If you really gravitate more towards puzzle games, I think this is definitely one that you're going to want to check out. As far as the score goes, I think what it tries to do, it does well. It's charming. It's pretty simple for the most part. The puzzles are good, and it was a lot of fun. That being said, there's also some things that annoyed me. So, it's nowhere near a perfect game. No game is perfect. But that being said, I did enjoy it. As far as the score goes, I am going to go a 7 out of 10. I think that's a very fair score when reviewing a game like this. I feel like it does a pretty good job, but just the constant pow, 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 pow. It really got on my nerves, especially on those floors where it was like, man, I suck at puzzle games. So, thank you so much for stopping by. That's my review of this game. I really appreciate it. As I said before, consider subscribing. It would mean the world. We try and, do a variety of things here. We kind of switch between music and video games, and, we're always getting new ideas of what to do. We also have a podcast channel. That'll be in the link down below if you want to check that out. It would mean the world. Support the channel in whatever way you can. With that being said, thank you so much for stopping by, and thank you for preparing yourselves for a plethora of hot takes and potentially unpopular opinions. I'm Gabriel Fast. I will always be a wannabe critic.